Hi everybody, my name is Martijn Verburg. Some of you may have seen me before as a diabolical developer wearing a red hat. I got acquired by Microsoft last month, so I'm not allowed to wear the evil red hat anymore. I have to be a good corporate citizen. Note the lovely Microsoft logo. Lovely. So yeah, as it turns out, even companies like Microsoft are interested in Java. So they acquired my company, JClarity. We're a JVM vendor and we're a Java performance company. And yeah, who would have thought? Strange things happen. I'm also the director at Adopt Openjdk, which is one of the Openjdk providers I'll talk about a lot because I'm biased. So if you came here expecting a fair and equal talk about all the different OpenJDKs, again, this is the wrong talk for you. Okay, just to set expectations. I will talk about the other Openjdk providers, and I promise to be fair and balanced about them, but my love and passion is about Adopt, and this was really a bait and switch on all of you, and for that I do not apologize. And I don't apologize because of that. It's my reputation, and until Microsoft take that away from my cold, dead hands, I will continue to be evil. Ooh, we seem to be missing a slide. It's gone backwards. That's exciting. So here are the things I'm going to cover. I was going to cover some terminology, because with the world of OpenJDK and Java standards and Java, and it all just gets a bit messy, and people don't really 100% know whether OpenJDK is truly Java or not, or whether Java is truly OpenJDK, or how that all works together. So I'll try and explain that as best as I can. I'll then briefly explain what happened to Oracle's Java, why they made that decision, what's happening with it going forwards, and whether you should stick with Oracle or not. Then I'll talk you through the various OpenJDK provider options. Then I will pretty much talk you through Adopt OpenJDK, which is the one that I particularly run, which is, I guess, a sort of a community-led effort in a way. And at the end, there'll be lots of time for questions, because this is not a very deep dive talk. So aren't you all lucky? So firstly, terminology. Now, since I somehow managed to get my slides backwards, I'm going to go to here. As you've noticed, I just started at Microsoft. So I'm using PowerPoint instead of Keynote. And I have to publicly say that PowerPoint is wonderful. So the writing is rather small, so I will have to sort of read some of this out to you. This is what happens when you use an official corporate template. So you have this thing called the Java Standard Edition, which is the kind of the specification of the Java language and the VM itself. This is the standard that all of the different providers of Java need to meet in order to be allowed to call themselves Java. They also have to pay Oracle some marketing, trademarking type money thing on the side as well, but we'll ignore that for the moment. So if you want to call yourself Java with the little TM symbol trademarked, you have to pass something called the TCK, and you basically have to say to Oracle, can I please have your permission to use the word Java? So for example, over in the corner here, quietly getting some work done, is Simon Ritter from Azul Systems. They have a Java implementation called Zing, which they are allowed to call Java because they have passed the TCK and presumably they have paid the Oracle tax.
You don't actually call it Java.
You don't call it Java anymore. I thought you used to. I stand corrected. IBM's J9, for example, they do call that Java. They can call that Java. There's another example. There is a Java standards body called the Java Community Process, which I have the pleasure or perhaps displeasure of sitting on, which defines each version of Java, so 12, 13, 14, 15, what exactly that Java standard will be, what APIs are in, what APIs are not, so on and so forth. And we give it the old rubber stamp of approval, and then all of the implementers have to meet that standard by passing that TCK. All good so far? All very clear, excellent. Java Development Kit, everyone knows what that is, JDK, that's what we all use and love today. I'll skip back past my intro because of PowerPoint and get on to the next bit. OpenJDK. So OpenJDK is many things to many people. So I'll talk about the three things that OpenJDK is. It is the source code, which is the reference implementation for the Java standard. So you can think of it as the canonical representation of Java. The sort of unbranded, pure version of Java that meets the specification and is the default, the de facto implementation as such. Openjdk is also the project and the community that people, lots of vendors and lots of individuals gather around to work effectively on Java itself. And you can go to openjdk.java.net to join that community, and you'll be delighted by the 1990s web design. It is static HTML pages and tiny text, and it has not changed, and Oracle, for some reason, will never change it. They are not a web company. They're a database company. Openjdk is also a binary, so you can download Openjdk from a variety of what I now call providers. So you think of them as vendors, perhaps. You can get Openjdk, for example, from Oracle themselves. So Oracle have Oracle's Java, the thing they now charge you money for, and if you go to java.com, you are downloading Oracle's Java, or you can get their Openjdk build, which is built from exactly the same source code, but is licensed differently and hidden away in a dark corner of the internet so you never find it, because that's the free one. I shall continue. So what happened to Oracle's Java? Who here is not aware that Oracle is now effectively charging for Java? Good, so we all got that memo. Excellent. Right. If you go to java.com, they have a big yellow warning sign basically telling you that if you click and download and accept this license agreement, somewhere down the line, you will need to pay Oracle some money. Now, there's lots of nuances to this, but basically if you're going for Oracle's Java, after, say, the first 6 months, and if you want those lovely security and stability patches and updates for that particular version of Java, you need to start shelling out some money. Or if you don't, you need to stick on the unpatched version if you're getting your Java from Oracle. And this is how Oracle is effectively driving a direct revenue stream from Java to pay for all the lovely engineers who are doing all the lovely Java work for you. Amusingly, Oracle put out a magazine called Profit. And but to be very clear and to be very fair to Oracle, so I run the Java platform group at Microsoft, which is newly formed. I also run Adopt Openjdk, and I have got a fair understanding of the cost it takes to run a full Java platform group to do all of the build, test, infrastructure, security patching, so on and so forth. These are not small sums of money. And Oracle has actually kindly, having given Java to us for free for over a decade now, has basically never made any direct revenue off Java. They've tried to make indirect revenue through their WebLogic sales and other bits and pieces, but they've always struggled to make a direct revenue stream in terms of support or contracts or anything like that off Java. And so they've just, understandably, as a for-profit company, have gone for a more direct route. There was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth and oh my goodness out there on the internet when this happened. But I assume most of you here have got paid salary jobs at your places of employment. All of us software engineers deserve to get paid for our hard labor, and so it's not unreasonable for Oracle to think, well, we need to pay our engineers somehow. Let's make sure that all the users of Java start chipping in. So, Oracle will provide you free updates for 6 months. So you get your security patches and stability patches. They will tend to do this on a quarterly basis, so you get two shots at this. And after that, they will stop if you're going with Oracle's Java. And then you either need to pay the money, or you need to immediately upgrade to the next version of Java. Now, if you're a small to medium enterprise, and if you've got your continuous integration and continuous deployment pipelines, which we all do, don't we? Oh my goodness, I'm talking to an enterprise audience, aren't I? Right. So assuming most of you come from more of an enterprise, let's say a risk-averse background, upgrading Java every 6 months is an utterly ridiculous idea. Who here upgrades Java every 6 months in production? 3 of you, the 3 startups in the room, fantastic. There is a lot of devil in the detail, so afterwards I will, at the very end of this talk, I will put up this particular bit.ly URL, but it's bit.ly and then Java is still free. It is about a 25-page document that a group called the Java Champions, which is sort of an independent body of Java luminaries, put together, explaining in every minute detail how you can get Oracle's Java for free, how long that lasts for, what all your options are, what the support options are, etc. So it's a really long, detailed read. But if you need to make a strategic decision for your company and it's going to cost you some serious pounds or euros or dollars, then I strongly suggest you go read that document. So you have lots of options. The red pill or the blue pill. Not that the red pill has to be Oracle, but option number 1. You just remain on the unpatched Java you have today. Safe as houses. Now, I've talked to a number of customers who are actually doing this as a strategy. They're like, well, we don't want to pay Oracle any money. We're safe behind our firewall. Who here believes in their company's firewall 100%? Nobody. And you're all caught on camera, by the way, but luckily it's the back of your heads, so none of you will get fired for saying so. Needless to say, please, please, please do not use this as your strategy going forward. It is close to suicidal. You only have to look at things like the Intel Spectre and Meltdown bugs, and there will be new zero-day exploits coming out next week anytime soon. I'm absolutely sure of it. I have the privilege of sitting on the Openjdk private security group, and some of the stuff that comes in there is terrifying, to put it mildly. And that comes in at least once every 6 months. So don't do that. Option number 2, get an Oracle subscription. I know it sounds scary giving Oracle money. I know most people don't like doing it, but who here uses the Oracle database? You're already giving Oracle a ton of money. Seriously. And trust me, the Java subscription is reassuringly cheap compared to the Oracle database subscription. So if you go with Oracle, they are the stewards of Java. They put in 90 to 95% of the engineering effort. They are the experts. The Oracle Java you're going to get is incredibly stable, robust, secure, all that good stuff, right? It's a Java that the whole world basically uses, right? You'll actually be helping pay for some of the R&D that's going on. Who here wants value types? Right, we're not, Brian Gertz doesn't work for free, right? So, and nor does Mark Reinhold and co. The pricing is surprisingly for Oracle okay-ish. If you are running, only a few hundred JVMs, the total cost is actually quite reasonable. If you're really a proper big enterprise company and you're heading into that thousands mark, then traditional Oracle pricing starts to take over. And I'll let your chief financial officers worry about that one. There's a lovely URL at the bottom, which you can grab after the talk. And just as a reminder, if you want value types, you might want to think about giving Oracle some money so that people like these gentlemen actually get paid, because that would be nice. Brian Gertz famously said when Oracle bought Sun that although he wasn't sure about the engineering culture he was going to get at Oracle, he said it's sure as hell nice to actually have a guaranteed paycheck. So Sun was a great company, couldn't pay its engineers. Bit sad. Option number 3 is you can choose an Openjdk provider. So remember, Openjdk is the reference implementation of Java. In a word, it is Java, right? There's just different branding and different naming associated, but it is the open source project that is Java itself. So if you are downloading and using an Openjdk binary from a reputable vendor, one who actually passes a TCK or passes a few 100,000 tests in the open, has proper support in place and all that good stuff, then pretty much it's a drop-in replacement for Oracle's Java. With Java 8, that's not quite true. There will be some technical work you need to do, especially around security certificates. And if any of you have got crazy Windows desktop apps, you might have to do something around fonts and sound and printer drivers. But generally speaking, it's a drop-in replacement. And from Java 11 onwards, it is 99.999% exactly the same thing as Oracle's Java. So just drop it in and it'll just go. I promise. And you'll never see me again, so you can believe me. So, Red Hat and SAP are actually leading the Openjdk Java 8 and Java 11 stream. So it is no longer Oracle that leads this. This is a very clear distinction. The Java 8 and Java 11 that Oracle provides is their own private fork of Openjdk. Right? So they go and fix their own Java 8 bugs and they fix their own Java 11 bugs. Oh, Simon's going to correct me.
Yeah,
Go.
It's not Red Hat and SAP, it's actually Andrew Haley of Red Hat.
Yes, sorry.
So you
It is Andrew Haley, the individual who happens to work for Red Hat, who leads Java 8. And it is...
No, and 11 as well.
No, Gertz for SAP just took over.
Oh.
Yeah. And Gertz, and I forget how to pronounce his last name, but he's German and awesome, from SAP is leading the Java 11 projects. So they are kind of the gatekeepers of patches and fixes that go into Openjdk, that then all of the Openjdk providers, like Azul, like Adopt Openjdk, like Alibaba, like Amazon Corretto, that we all share and we all use together. Oracle do their own thing in the corner because they're trying to encourage you to use their Oracle's Java to pay them money. So does that make sense? So you've basically got two Java 8s in the world. One which is Openjdk based out in the open that everybody except for Oracle uses and produces. And then you've got Oracle's Java 8 in the corner there doing its own thing, right? Now you're probably going to be worried at this point. You're going to go, oh no, they're going to split. They fix different bugs. They'll behave differently. Panic. Don't worry. We are going to solve this for you. With Openjdk as well, all of the Openjdk providers will provide you the option to have a binary which is free as in cost, so dollar free, pound free, euro free, and free as in use. So there are no license restrictions to how you use that Java. You can bundle it with your application under the GPL v2 plus ClassPath exception license. And so there's no field of use restrictions like there is with Oracle's Java, who don't like you doing things like bundling your Java with a Blu-ray device, for example. You need to pay them more money for that. Okay. Was that hopefully is clear. So I'll go through the Openjdk providers. What time did I start? 5:30, 35 minutes to go. Yeah, we're doing okay. All right. Here is a list of probably the most major, well-known Openjdk providers today that people we know of are actually using in production. Seriously. So we have Adopt Openjdk, which just happens to be colored green and bolded because, you know, it's the one you should use. We have Alibaba's Dragonwell. We have Amazon's Corretto, which I suspect is a fairly good household name at this point. We have Azul Zulu in the corner. Shout out for Simon and team. Bellsoft has got a Openjdk which they have labeled Liberica. You can get Openjdk purely from your Openjdk from your Linux distribution. So you can say apt-get install Openjdk 8 on your Debian-based system, and it will install an Openjdk for you. Same if you're on CentOS, Fedora, or RHEL. You can say yum, whatever the yum incantation is, Openjdk 8 or Openjdk 11, and it'll install it. As I mentioned before, you've got Oracle's Openjdk. So this is not the Oracle Java you go to at java.com, but if you go to a little website called jdk.java.net, you'll find where Oracle hides its Openjdk builds. So you can get those for free. Red Hat, obviously, who here runs on Red Hat Linux? Right, so you will get your Java for free, bundled, fully supported, assuming you're paying your Red Hat Linux subscription. And SAP do a Openjdk called SAP Machine. And now, audience participation time. Does anyone else know of an Openjdk that I've missed? Because every time I do this talk, usually another one crops out from somewhere. But not this time. This is good. It is also perfectly legal and perfectly valid for you to build Openjdk from source, put a brand on it, and start distributing it out to anyone you like, and you can charge people subscription or support money for that. Perfectly valid to do so. So if you want to have Bob's or Charlotte's Openjdk and find some willing customers to pay you money for support, go knock yourself out. So I'll go through these one by one. And I'm going to do adopt OpenJDK last because, reasons. So Alibaba's Dragonwell. They do only Java 8, and they only do it on a subset of Linuxes. So if you're using Aliyun Linux distribution, or I believe CentOS or RHEL, and you're using Java 8, and here's the kicker. Who here uses Sunmisk Unsafe? Nobody. One person.
So if one of the component used doesn't count,
Yes.
we use a package that uses unsafe.
Aha, yes, use a package. Right, excellent. Most of you are probably, unbeknownst to you, using a package which uses Sunmisk Unsafe. It is called unsafe for a reason. Alibaba internally has great use for this particular API because of the needs that it has as a major cloud vendor. So it is, within Dragonwell, it has a whole bunch of extra memory protection and pointer buffer protection, etc., around the use of that library. So if you have found in the past that your OpenJDK or Java keeps blowing up because of Sunmisk Unsafe, then Dragonwell may be an option for you. And it's a pretty cool name, and it's a nice logo too. It's always important. Just as a reminder, this is what happens when you use Sunmisk Unsafe. Try not to do this at home. Amazon Creto, otherwise known as the "we don't like you Oracle, so we're going to make our own OpenJDK" JDK. James Gosling, the father of Java, actually works for Amazon. It's probably fair to say that he doesn't have a lot to do with Creto, but he very proudly did come out on stage and say, look, we have our own OpenJDK, wonderful. They are Java 8 and 11 only. What you will get from Amazon is a well-tested TCK-compliant binary, which you can either use on AWS or you can use in your own data center. But be very aware of what Amazon's support is like. 0. You will get nothing from them. They may accept, a pull request or a bug report in their GitHub repo, but they are under no obligation to support you. And Amazon as a company is not incentivized to support you, so the likelihood of you getting support is 0. They have a small set of performance, security, and stability patches that may be of benefit of you, especially if you're running on AWS or if you're running in Docker containers. However, those patches are constantly being upstreamed to OpenJDK proper, which we applaud Amazon for, so that's wonderful that they're doing that. And so this kind of small differentiator they have from the canonical reference implementation upstream is very, very small. So if you ever have an Amazon salesperson or engineer trying to tell you that their OpenJDK has all these fantastic different features and bug fixes, they just don't. And the truth is none of the OpenJDK providers really do. Azul. Azul is the only other company that's actually been producing Java binaries for as long as Sun/Oracle has, just about. So they have been a long trusted name in terms of providing an alternative Java, starting out with a Java called Zing, and now they have one called Zulu, which is an OpenJDK distribution. It's been going for quite some time. They absolutely know what they're doing. They probably have the second largest Java engineering team on the planet, at a guess. We don't know the exact numbers, but I can take these good guesses. And they've been around for a very long time. Simon works there and he's lovely, so you can talk to him afterwards. And they offer commercial support if you want it. But the Zulu binary is free, so dollar free, absolutely. If you want support, you can get it from Azul. And yes, it'll cost you money, and yes, it'll be cheaper than Oracle. What else can I say? I did have a bullet point here saying that sadly the Zulu source code as such is not out there on an open GitHub repo, but because of the GPL v2 license terms, you can actually ask Azul for a copy of the source code, and I've done this, and they will happily give it to you, within about a couple of hours, assuming one of their people is on the line. And there might be plans to open it later, which you can bug Simon about. Next one, distribution-based OpenJDKs. If you are just lazy and you just want to say apt-get or yum, or if it's a system administrator who's installing Java for you, as opposed to you as an actual Java expert or developer, Really easy to do it this way, and your package manager will just take care of everything. The small challenge is, with the distributions, is that the people behind building Openjdk, these distributions, are not Java experts. And they sometimes do interesting things like release Java 1.8.0 underscore 222, but build it from the wrong tag. Or they miss some patches, or they might miss some configuration, so on and so forth. They are improving. The Openjdk community is working with them, and the most recent builds they've been putting out, both at Debian and at sort of CentOS Fedora, have vastly improved. But it is worth a paranoia check if you're really running mission-critical Java. And you also get no commercial support unless you are paying the particular Linux vendor, for example, unless you're paying Canonical for Ubuntu support. Yeah, again, you will not get any direct Openjdk or Java support from these people. Bellsoft Liberica. These folks are former Oracle/Sun engineers out of, I'm going to guess, St. Petersburg. Am I right? Yes, St. Petersburg. They're a small company. They're quite new, but considering they're all ex-Sun, Oracle, Java, and JVM engineers and they're product folks, they absolutely know what they're doing. So I have, pretty high confidence in what they actually build and produce is really, really solid. I'm personally not too aware of what their commercial terms are. But being one of the smaller vendors or one of the smaller Openjdk providers, I can almost guarantee they'll be cheaper than Oracle, and they're probably fairly competitive against everyone else. That said, because they are one of the smaller vendors, if you have sort of finance and risk and legal people who are risk averse about using a small vendor that hasn't proven itself in the market yet, then maybe this isn't quite the right one for you. Whereas, for example, Azul, on the other hand, is much larger, has been around for a much longer time. You can use Oracle's Openjdk. As I mentioned before, you can just go to jdk.java.net and you can pick up the reference implementation from there. And they've got builds right from Java 8 all the way through to 13, and also the nightly build for 14. And you can also pick up some of the crazy builds like the current nightly build of Valhalla and Panama and Metropolis and those kind of experiments if you want to. But as you'll notice when you go to that page, it is very bare bones. They literally have some download links to the binaries, and that is it. Right? So Oracle is not in the game of providing any support or really encouraging you to use these in production. Oracle's official position on this is that these are the binaries they would like developers to use on their desktop for building Java applications. It is not the binary they would like you to use in production. They would like you to use Oracle's Java, which you pay for. If you are running Red Hat Linux, and if you are paying Red Hat for that subscription, just go with the Java that comes with it. It is extremely well built and tested. Andrew Haley and co know exactly what they're doing. They've been around since day dot with Java, and you absolutely cannot go wrong with it. SAP, probably the coolest logo. So, if your company is led by a marketing person or a brand expert, maybe this is the choice for you. Is anyone here running on Linux S390? PowerPC? Spot the big blue person in the corner. If you happen to be running on those wonderful yet slightly esoteric platforms, then you have two choices in the market. You can either go to IBM or you can go to SAP effectively. I don't think Azul does PowerPC build. We do. Okay, you can go to Azul as well. There you go. Unfortunately, SAP did just lose their lead engineer to Amazon. So this is just my personal view, not the view of my employer, but my personal view is I am not 100% sure how much longer SAP will continue putting out an Openjdk distribution. I personally do not see it in SAP's business interest to do so, but we will see what happens. They only do Java 11, by the way, so only Java 11 long-term support, whereas some of the other vendors I mentioned, so Oracle Openjdk, for example, does 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Bellsoft does the full range as well. The distros tend to only do the major versions, so 8 and 11, and Azul also do the full range, so anything from 6, 7, 8, all the way through and more. Is anyone here still on Java 6? We finally got rid of the last one. Round of applause. No more Java 6. Wonderful. Yeah. Any Java 7? We've got rid of the Java 7 as well?
Ask about Java 4.
Could someone please open the door for the poor gentleman? He needs to go to the pub right now because that is just a sad, sad story. Java 1.4.2, I hope. The stable version, good, yes. That was the real Java 4, the others weren't worth it. Whoops, went too far. Right, and now we're going to talk about the one that, in my humble opinion, I think you should take a closer look at. So Adopt OpenJDK came as a response to Oracle's decision to effectively start charging for Java. We knew that OpenJDK as the reference implementation was a perfectly good and valid Java to use in production, but nobody had built a sort of shared community or infrastructure to produce OpenJDK binaries at scale across all of the different platforms with all of the different installers, pre-built in Docker containers, homebrew with Mac, so on and so forth. So companies like Azul are certainly doing that and do a really good job of it. But what the community goal here was, selfishly from Java user groups, etc., to begin with, was we wanted to have a community in place where it was multiple vendors and multiple groups supporting it, so that there was no longer a single reliance on a single vendor, and so that folks at least had an opportunity to pick that choice if that was the right choice for them. Hopefully that makes sense. So, as it says, pre-built OpenJDK binaries for free. We follow pretty much the LTS releases, so that means Java 8 and Java 11, and we will also provide the latest stable short-term release, which as of today is Java 13. You can go into our archives and you can get Java 10, 9, 10, and 12 if you really want to, but please don't run those in production. They're no longer supported, and you're just waiting for a security vulnerability to come and get you. Again, similarly to Azul, we support every single platform under the sun, so anything from a Lego Mindstorm, ARM 6, 7, 8, Solaris Spark, Solaris Intel, PowerPC, every weird piece of IBM architecture you could ever want in your basement, so on and so forth. So if you want to try crazy stuff out, then you can go and do that. Mention all the different... Oh, yes, we do Windows 32 as well. Is anyone here on Windows 32? No? Last year it was fun because I was talking to some people from the German tax authority, and they still have Windows 32 in there, which is great. Lucky them. Adopt OpenJDK is slightly different in terms of its conformance. It actually has not been granted access to the TCK. So we are not allowed to say that we've passed the TCK, so we cannot say that we are conformant with the Java specification. I'll leave it up to your own decision making as to how important that is for you and whether or not that meets the quality bar that you need for your company. Instead, what we do is we have about 100,000 plus tests that are out in the open. They're just on our GitHub repo, which we run on every single JVM build. So you can see all the tests that we run, the test results, exactly what those tests are, so on and so forth. Most of the support is community-based. So you go to our Slack, there's over 1,000 enthusiastic volunteers that if you have a Java question or a bug in OpenJDK itself, you just post your question, and usually within 24 hours someone jumps on it. And as it so happens, there are so many vendors that back Adopt OpenJDK that there are tons of actual real live OpenJDK engineers with committer rights that can, generally speaking, fix bugs on your behalf. There's no guarantee, it's not commercial support, you're not paying anyone, so it's kind of, they'll fix it when they feel like it, but that is an option. You can also today get commercial support from IBM. So IBM actually ships Adopt OpenJDK binaries. I'll go into a little bit more detail about the two different VMs you can choose from IBM. But they'll commercially support this. So if your company needs to call someone on the phone, you can call IBM. What else do I need to talk about here? Is anyone here still using like Java Web Start type applications? One person. We have ICT Web for you, sir. So ICT Web has actually now moved officially to adopt OpenJDK. So for those who don't know what that is, ICT Web is an open source clean room implementation of the Java Web Start proprietary technology that Oracle had to kind of sort of distribute Java over browsers and desktops via a highly secure mechanism. I would recommend moving away from that if you, yes, good, nodding, good. We also have the home, we're also now the home of mission control. So if people have heard of Java Flight Recorder, so mission control is the desktop application that reads Java Flight Recorder data and gives you all sorts of fascinating insights into how that JVM is behaving from a performance perspective. So mission control is now officially being, the source code, etc., is at adopt, and we're building those binaries as well. So if you're a performance engineer, if you're using Flight Recorder, you can pick up your mission control from us. Everything we do at Adopt OpenJDK is completely open and transparent. So all of our source code is on GitHub. We have now have over 100 different repositories under the organization. All of the source code that we grab from OpenJDK is GPL v2 license, so it's the same license as upstream. All of the other kind of build scripts and tests we write, they are all either GPL or Apache 2 licensed. And if you want to grab our entire infrastructure, all of our tests, all of our build scripts, and drag them into your organization and build Java yourself, you are more than welcome to do so. It is probably fair to say some of the other Openjdk providers have done so, or have at least borrowed snippets. And we think that's wonderful. We don't believe anybody should compete on a build farm or on build scripts, and so people are more than welcome to use ours. Because building on Solaris Spark is no simple matter. What else do I need to say here? A few interesting snippets. So we have a technical steering committee who sort of act as a guide for the project. We tend to let all of the individual teams be very autonomous and drive their own destinies. But if there's some sort of financial, legal, or political concern that needs to be resolved, then there's a steering committee which has got a bunch of Red Hat, GoDaddy, Microsoft, IBM, and a few individuals on there, which will kind of help guide the community. Does anybody here do DevOps type work? Ansible, Terraform, Puppet, Chef? Yay, we use Ansible for the win. It's horrible. I would love to hear from anybody if you've got anything better than Ansible. We've tried Puppet, we've tried Chef, they're also awful. What can I say? The build scripts are primarily bash, and when I say bash, this is proper bash. This is actually unit tested, shell checked, robust enterprisey bash. So if you want to come along and see what crazy enterprisey bash looks like from actual bash experts, that's a good place to go look. Everything we do is Jenkins-based pipelines. Who here uses Jenkins? Keep your hand up if you like using Jenkins. Oh, yeah. The glow of Jenkins is starting to wear off, isn't it? And we can see why. Jenkins, as it turns out, has not been a great choice, but it's the best bad thing that we have today. Unfortunately, Jenkins is a security vulnerability masquerading as a build system. And amusingly, when you talk to the Jenkins folks themselves and you ask them why they don't have a public Jenkins server building Jenkins at Jenkins, it's because of that reason. Amusingly, we have also started to put in the build scripts to allow you to run this entire build farm on Microsoft's Azure ASDO pipeline platform. Amazon is also going to donate their build script so you can run it on the Amazon equivalent CI/CD pipeline, should you use either of those two. And everything happens in GitHub or on Slack. Weirdly, we don't have a mailing list. If anybody wants to come along and volunteer to moderate some mailing lists, then come see me afterwards. It'd be great. How are we going for time? Oh yeah, I've been going quite slow. Excellent. Right. The There is an extra choice with Adopt Openjdk that you do not get from any other Openjdk provider. So here we go, here's a special secret recipe. We have an alternative underlying VM technology. So Openjdk comes with a VM technology called Hotspot. That's the one that most of you probably know and use today. So you've got the Hotspot just-in-time compiler, C1 and C2. You've got the Hotspot garbage collectors, which are things like G1, CMS, Parallel, ZGCs coming in. But Eclipse OpenJ9 is formerly the IBM J9 VM, which IBM open sourced and put into the Eclipse Foundation quite some time ago now. And if you are using things like function as a service or serverless Java, if you're running Java in Docker containers, or if you're running a lot of like streaming type Java, you may find that the performance gains you get out of OpenJ9 are worth the challenge of actually choosing that as an option. So it's pretty much a drop-in replacement. It's the same Java libraries and APIs. You don't have to change any of your Java code whatsoever. It will just give you a different performance profile. And for some workloads, that performance profile is significant enough, 10, 20%, that it's really worth going for. Again, IBM will actually commercially support OpenJ9 as well. So you can go for that. Here are some of the companies that are supporting Adopt OpenJDK. And as you can see, there's quite a few household names there, and some really interesting ones that came out of the woodwork. So people like Cloudflare and GoDaddy came along immediately and said, hey, we want to actually have a say in Java, and we want to be a sort of an equal partner and an equal supporter with some of our friends and some of our competitors. We don't actually mind. We think Java is a public service, a public good, and we should all look after it together. So here are some of the names, and there are even more names. So as you can see, Azul, who provide their own OpenJDK, think this is something that's worth supporting. So again, it's kind of a real nice community feel about it. To give you and some of your bosses some comfort that this is safe to use, here are some of the companies who have said, we actually use this in production. You'll see companies like Pivotal, MongoDB, Ocado, who are like a major billion pound grocery company here in the UK. GoDaddy, IBM, and there's some really large household names here that use this stuff. Lies, and damn statistics. Download counts are a really stupid way to talk about popularity, but I thought the interesting thing here really to point out was that notice that Java 8 still outperforms Java 11 in terms of number of downloads. So it's getting towards 50-50, but half of you definitely are still using Java 8, and the other half are starting to move to Java 11, which I thought was quite interesting. I won't bore you too much with the details of how Adopt is split out, but if you ever wish to volunteer, if you want to see what it's like behind the scenes to work at a Java organization building and testing Java itself, then there's a whole myriad of places you can go and help out with an Adopt. Installers, the Docker containers, sorting out Jenkins, performance benchmarking, the website, security, so on and so forth. So if there's something interesting you want to explore in your career, something like the Java build farm we run can give you experience in absolutely everything. This roughly talks about how our test pipelines, etc. work. So our test pipelines, I'll actually jump to here. We run 5 separate pipelines of tests. So we run about 20,000 functional, about 6,000 tests that come with OpenJDK itself, another 25,000 system tests. Then we run a whole bunch of external tests, and this is the cool bit. We take a Docker container, we take all of your favorite Java-based languages and frameworks like Scala, Tomcat, JUnit, Maven, whatever the common projects are. We then drop in our build of Adopt OpenJDK, and then we run all of the frameworks or languages tests. We run all the Scala tests, and we prove that we have not broken Scala. Right? We run all of the Maven tests. We prove we have not broken Maven. And we can chain as many of these in our test pipeline as we like. So on some of our release builds, we might chain 70 or 80 of these different applications. So we have an awful lot of confidence, and it's all public, that the builds we produce won't break your running software. As I said, I'm incredibly biased. Go check it out. If you want to get involved in it, go to /Slack on top of that. Who here is actually not allowed to use Slack in their workplace? Ooh, not too bad. So officially at Microsoft, I'm also not allowed to use Slack because we've got Microsoft Teams, but I got special dispensation for this project, so lucky me. So there you go, Java is still free, I told you I promised. Thank you very much for your time and attention. And if you have any questions, I've got time to answer them now, although I appreciate it is getting on in time and people may want to run away. So are there any questions out there that people are brave enough to ask publicly?